just because they just disintegrate in your hands. Good bone
Oh, you
broth.
might not
So
even have any bones left. Yeah,
I
to
won't.
even like redo the bones. Yeah. So if you did them like 30 hours, you probably would have bones to like reuse.
Yeah.
But if you literally like disintegrated the bones, A, that's fine because you've gotten all the goodness out of them. And this is the where the people will go wrong. It's funny because like my mom will go, "Oh my gosh, the bone broth at the store is just so bad. Like it's so gross, Maria." And I'm like, but then she tastes my bone broth and she's like, "This is so good." But it comes, what are the herbs and things that you put
Yes.
into it to make it so good and rich? And that's where you can play with is like this is where I think Epic does a really good job when they have like the jalapeno beef one and the cranberry turkey one. I mean,
Mm.
I've put in my bone broth, I have put cranberries in it before just to see how I would do. And it tastes really good. I don't mash them up or anything. I just put the raw cranberries on the top and then it does its thing and then and then I strain it and then they're out. So you can, if you want to use sage or you want to do something that's more like turmeric, curcumin, and you want to put that kind of,
Mm.
different spice in it. But that's where you can get creative and fun. And you could even take whatever pot that you just made, and then you could thin that out with more, like you could put more water, but you could divide it up and then you could make this one has like turmeric and curcumin and chili
Oh.
powder or whatever, and this one has you could even boil it with some cranberry. You know what I mean? You could make a couple different things. And especially as we think about like fasting week coming up and all that kind of stuff, right? How else could you make the turkey bone broth that would be fun and be different for your palate? And if
Mhm.
someone was doing a partial or they're doing some type of bone broth fast, it would be more exciting for your palate. And then obviously if you were going to divide it up and want to make different soups later, you could change the type of soup that you were doing
That's a good
according.
idea.
So that's the fun if you make like a blank slate and just have some like regular herbs and then things that you can add to it. So it could always be different every time. So
Good ideas.
yeah, yeah. I should have my own Pinterest channel on
Yes, you
bone
should.
broth.
You should, especially the fennel, whatever it was that you mentioned that was so sounds so
Oh,
yummy.
so fennel, I don't know, like if you guys I got totally into fennel. So this is something that I talk about in this course quite a bit, but like changing up the type of vegetables you eat for your microbiome. And so I always like to challenge people to, go to Sprouts. Sprouts is one of the funnest places, I think, for produce because you'll find vegetables in there and you're like, I didn't even know this vegetable or this fruit existed. And you're like, I don't even know if I should buy it. It's weird and funky shaped and it has spines on it. But I always encourage people just buy one, right? Like, and try it because it might actually be fun. Like, have you ever truly bought a dragon fruit before? Have you ever like, what's that yellow one with the spikes on it? I'm trying to think of what that's called. Anyways, but it can be really fun to try different stuff. So when I was challenging this, I'd never really tried fennel before, and I became obsessed. And it's
Yeah,
like, oh, it's so good.
I hate
It's
fennel.
yeah. So it has this little bit of like anise or like
Mhm.
black licorice type. Yeah, but then it's like a celery, and it's different when you cook it versus when you eat it raw. I like it both ways. It definitely when you eat it raw, it much more has that anise or that little like licorice taste to it versus when you cook it, that pretty much almost dissipates. Um, and you get more, it's just kind of fresh in my mind. I don't know, everybody's a little bit different. And most of the time, if I put it in, people don't really recognize it. They think it's almost like a celery. But it's, I don't know, but I definitely like to put it in soups and I put it in a lot of different things. But yeah, you can do it in so many different ways. So I always encourage if there's something you've never tried at a store and you're just like, I don't even know what to do, go to Pinterest, look and see like how to make, like I didn't know they had golden beets. They have golden beets versus red beets, right? I love golden beets. They're phenomenal, especially if you cook them with fennel and garlic. But things can be really fun if you're willing to kind of step outside, and that just really helps change our microbiome and give us that more diversity and yeah, play with that stuff a little bit.
Yeah, I'm not very good
So,
at that. I get into my one salad that I eat. I
yep.
added the different colors, but it's the same one. So yeah.
Yeah, and that's the challenge, right? Like literally just go in of like wonder of like, I don't know, I wonder what that could taste like, right? That's the beauty of something like Pinterest is you could put in whatever vegetable it is and then write recipe. And there's going to be people that bring up 1,000 different things, and you're going to be like, oh, that could be good, right? And then you just try it. And if it's terrible, don't ever do it again. You bought one of them, right? So, and if it's delicious, then you're going to tell everybody about it. Like, I love have you guys ever had a gooseberry?
I'm not sure.
It's it's it it's slick, but it looks like almost like a kumquat. And it's like tart. It has little tiny seeds in the middle, but it has amazing antioxidant benefits, and
Mm.
it's tastes really good. It's slightly sweet, it's tart, and it has little tiny seeds in the middle. But it almost looks like a grape in a way, but it's bright yellow. Yeah, and it's called a gooseberry. And it's a big in Indian culture. And sometimes they boil them and make it into a chutney, or you can just literally just eat them just as like you would a grape. And yeah, so I mean, there's really fun things that have a lot of amazing benefits that we just don't step outside of our element because we're all creatures of habit. But it's fun if we just pick something up new that we've never had and we're like, okay, we're gonna give this a whirl. I mean, what's the worst harm? You hate it and you move on, or you love it and you tell everybody about it. And I put it on my charcuterie board this, and then I'm like, try this. It's amazing. I did not put raw fennel. I didn't think that would be the thing that ooh la la to anybody. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna share, and then I will say, okay, I know like Lynn and Tanya and um Katrina, everybody's like on board, everybody's doing their stuff. Everybody's had some type of scheduling error, which is totally fine. Uh everybody I believe, will be fasting with us next week. So this well, first I want to ask, just between the two of you, like going into next week as a fast as opposed to this week, holiday parties and stuff like that, how hard has it been?
Really hard. I have
Really
not
hard.
done well on those days, but I'm doing well now.
Yeah, I would this is literally for personal, just because like we had our planning meeting today, and this TBR got a little late. Like usually the fall we do it a little bit earlier, and I was just curious of how this timing was working. And I know Thanksgiving, it's kind of funny because we go into this 511, but this, even though like, because Christmas parties are starting to like come up, right? But this almost helps us to get reined back in, right? It's really easy because we've got leftovers and we've got all the things, and it's like it, but it almost helps us get more rein back in and be within this kind of like scheduled place. So it's almost a little bit easier. But as kind of events come up in the next 2 weeks, this is where this might propose a little bit more of a challenge, which I definitely will probably move it slightly earlier. But I'm just curious how everybody felt like it was navigating and if it was helpful or not helpful. So,
For me, it was very helpful. I have been working. I think I told you I've been working on the 3-2-2 since the last 5-day water fast.
mhm,
And my goal this time has been to keep the 10 pounds off that I lost on the 5-day water fast, and I'm actually doing that because yes, because of the call, because of the accountability, because I'm still listening each week to what's on my Kajabi to remind me of what I'm doing. Um,
beautiful.
and so I did have my fast planned. I was good, but I was going to start it this Thursday
Hmm.
because of stuff that I have going on. And then my husband let me know that our church Christmas party is at the all you can eat meat place, which is on Monday. That's what I call it. It's a Brazilian steakhouse.
Okay.
It's really, but anyway, is on Monday. So the next call I won't be here because I will be at the all you can eat meat place. So I'm moving the fast to Wednesday because I don't figure that eating that on Monday and then starting the fast on Tuesday would be
It
great.
it would,
But
yeah, it might be a little abrupt for you. Like it might
yeah,
feel, and you might not feel as centered.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna
So,
start it. I'm gonna start it on Wednesday. I'm actually starting it on Thursday to end the following Tuesday, just because of what I have going on that I
yeah.
don't want to
And
be
that's,
on day 4 or 5 on a
yep.
certain day.
And
So
that's perfect for anybody that's listening and wants to, like, if you can't start Monday, Tuesday, no big deal. Or if you need to start slightly earlier or slightly later to work into whatever your schedule is, that's absolutely fine. It does not have to be on the dot or you're off, right? Like that's not
mhm.
how this works. So it's meant to kind of be personalized. So if you have to start a little bit later, you start a little bit earlier, we still get to share our journeys. And then we I'm going to provide you with the information as you go along, but
Mhm.
regardless, you can have whatever journey, whatever's perfect for your
Yeah.
schedule, because you don't want it to not work with your schedule. And, it's funny because like especially this type of season, everybody's trying to figure out when their party is going to be. And so no one's really like put that out there. And then everyone all of a sudden right after Thanksgiving is like, oh, and our party is blam. And you're like, oh, shoot.
Mhm.
Right. So that's where it
Mhm.
becomes hard in December. So,
I
um,
I will say the very first time that I did TBR, it was really good for me to follow it with you because of the each day things that we had
mhm,
available to us. So
yeah. Okay. Beautiful. Okay.
yeah.
That's just really good information for me just so I can it's just planning purposes, and I do plan on starting it earlier next year, but it was just it's all my fault.
You're fine.
We'll call it it was all my illness.
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay. Okay, so we've talked about wins. Well, maybe not full wins. What's everybody's win?
Thanksgiving was a win. I mean, our what I did for the carbs was I made a little sweet potato dish. It was sliced sweet potatoes with a little bit of goat cheese and just a tiny little bit of cranberries and smidgen of honey. So that was the only carbs that I had, other than an apple crisp that was all AIP, sugar free. So I felt really good about Thanksgiving.
Good, good, good. Yeah. Whitney, what are your wins?
Oh yeah. So even though like Thanksgiving was rougher to not eat the delicious things.
Or we call it your feast day. No.
Yeah, there we go. There we go. But I came back and I just dove back in. So I feel
Yeah,
like that's my win right now is that I'm like 30 hours into a fast and I feel really good and I'm like just getting
great.
back on track. So
Awesome.
And
feels good.
that's the beautiful thing, right? Like this is meant to teach us that we can have feast famine variation. We can have a day and then we can get ourselves right back in and right on program. Whereas we don't need to take 4 or 5 days or 2 weeks, or all of a sudden it turns into 2 months, right? Before we get rid
Mhm.
of our carb cravings. Like we get right back in, we do our thing. And I think that's really important. And yeah, and I think it's the other thing I think is really important is try to stay as active as possible, with any type of event that comes up in our life. Like if we're going out to a dinner date, or we've got all these holiday parties and stuff, we can always be active on those days that we're doing those things, because we are going to burn more of that glucose. We're going to have more of that insulin sensitivity as we go to those events. And so really like I was telling Sheila before we came on, was that's something that I very much prioritized. No matter what I had to cook, it was like, okay, I'm gonna go nurture myself up in the mountain and go hiking before I come
Mhm.
back and do whatever. And then when I come back and I only have 4 hours to prep, guess what? It's at that point, it is what it is. But I'm not going to not do that because like I said I was going to bring 1,700 things. I'm going to do the hike and I'm not going to sabotage that. So realizing like we don't want to sabotage our time to nurture ourselves and nurture our bodies to, uplift, like make something that someone's like, "Oh, thanks so much for making that." And you're like, "Missed my whole workout because you didn't," like, you know what I mean? Like it's right. It's a silly thing. We never know how, but if we keep that, I don't know. It's always better that way. So
That's the thing that I'm really struggling with. And I love that you shared that story of Thanksgiving Day, because I am getting the 322, but
uh-huh.
even I'm wearing the glucose monitor and my glucose is high. I know it's because of stress, and I'm not taking the time to get, if I were to take the time and get out, like you're
Yeah.
put as the priority, then that would help. I know that that would help to calm down, but I just can't. I'm not saying I can't, I just haven't yet made that the priority. And so that's my non-win. That
No,
next
that's
week my
beautiful.
plan is,
But I'm so grateful that we're
to,
talking about that because
yeah.
it's um most of the time, and this is if you can think back to every project that anyone's ever given you, right? Um, they give you a deadline and you always seem to get it done. And even if you put yourself first, you're probably going to get it done.
Mm,
And so it could be the experiment, just like choosing a new vegetable or a fruit, right? It's let me try to put myself first and then let me see what comes out on the other side. And did I
mm,
still achieve all the things and did my body like me
good.
more for it?
Yes.
So, yeah, I encourage all of us because we tend to somehow we tend to work more efficiently when we do get that time. And we tend to be even happier about it while we're doing it because we get that time. And it's just like making that a non-starter for us. Like this is the priority and then everything else will fall into place.
Mm,
And
beautiful.
having
Thank
that
you.
faith in that. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Okay. All right, we are going to be great. This is okay, so this is our week 5, and this is where we get to become more efficient fat burners. And I'm super excited for Katrina this week, just because I've been watching her numbers and how she's kind of going along. And the this is where we get to put this 4-2-1 in effect. And this is the week that we get to have 2 fasted days. And this is a week that gives a lot of confidence. And some of us this last week would have been the first time that we ever had a fasted day, like from dinner to dinner, and that can give us a lot of confidence, like, oh my gosh, I did it. Wow, I can't believe that my body was prepared to do that. So this week we get to put 2 fasted days in and 1 feasted day. So this is a place where you get to get even more confidence and it's more reliance on your body as a fat burner, but you're also going to see a lot of those ketone numbers go up during this time. So this is a really exciting week for us. And maybe my computer doesn't want to respond. Oh, I'm waiting and waiting. Come on. Okay. That's bizarre. We've never had this happen. This is fun. Sheila, are you? Everything is.
Is it just frozen, Ryan?
Yeah, it's just Microsoft. Let me see if I can. Here. Okay. What I'm going to do, I'm going to make sure. Okay. I can fix this.
You can read it to us while we watch your pretty face. Yes.
Ah, perfect. Okay. I've never really had Microsoft go down like that where, okay. So let me start there. Beep, beep, beep. Okay. And now, oh, okay. I'll turn that. And now let me share again. And we're back. Okay, perfect. And now I'll do this. Okay, so we were talking about how our 511 went, and we talked about when we did our feasts and when we did our famines. And so why would we add another fasting day in? And this is a time that we get to increase our metabolic and mitochondrial fitness by forcing the cells to adapt. So when we start to create a small stress on the body, the strong cells survive and the bad cells have to get rid of. And as we fast, we get again that giant Pac-Man, that autophagy that starts to eat those bad cells and get rid of the bad cellular debris as we get new, healthy, stronger cells because of the small stresses that we created when we talked about the idea of hormesis, right? Each time we do that, we create a small cellular stress. Each time the cells get stronger. So that's why putting another fasted day in a week starts to create more of that metabolic fitness. We get lower glucose levels, higher ketone numbers, and the body starts to get adjusted to those small incremental changes. And the mitochondria will become more efficient over time. They have a greater ability to produce energy from fat. And then this also is going to prepare you for this group fast where you're going to have more confidence about this fast and the type of fast that you want to prepare for yourselves, whether it be for the first time or the fifth time. So how do we break up this week? And this week, I actually don't want you to do your fasted days back to back. I know some people like to test the water and they just want to see, okay, if I did 2 days this week, how far would I get? But this can be really great to switch up. So whether you do a fasted day on Tuesday and Friday, and you can have a feasted day somewhere in between. But I do like you to break them up. It just gives us greater autophagy numbers and then a break, and then greater autophagy numbers and then a break. And the other days of the week, you're going to have intermittent fasted days. So if you're at, say, a 15-hour fasting window, then you're going to go back to that 15-hour fasting window. So 4 days of the week, you're going to have your feeding window, and that is broken up. Let's say you're 10, 8, 6, or 4. I don't want you to try to change this. So like if you've been at 16 hours fasted, I don't want you to try to go to 18 hours. I want you to stick with the intermittent fasted window that you have been doing throughout the time. You're going to only eat 2 meals during this window and no snacking. You're not eating less, you're just eating less often. So when you eat, I want you to eat well. I'm gonna post something on what's called a ketobiotic meal. And this is a way to help break your fast with also putting good probiotic foods in, and we'll give you kind of an idea of what getting good as well as caloric, but also protein and good fat intake will look like. So I'll post about a ketobiotic meal. And we are going to keep our carbs below 50 grams per day, as well as continue our 2-2-2 rules. So fasted days are, during your fasted days, you can either do the regular fasted day or you can do a partial. So the partial is, remember when we talked about 15 to 20 grams of protein or 5 to 800 calories. So we want to stay below that. Protein is really that mark that tells your body that it's no longer fasted. So trying to stay, so there's no animal protein on this day to really keep you under that 15 to 20 grams. And I will say that really potent bone broth, there is actually a lot of good protein in bone broth. So be really careful. Like if you're fasting with bone broth, we tend to dilute it just so that we don't put your protein over that mark. And then these fasted days can be straight water if you would like. We have the fasted cheat sheet, which you guys can look at of what would a potential partial fast on a fasting cheat sheet can look like. So during this fasted day, this is where you get that extra autophagy and that stem cells. And then on your feasted day, so Thanksgiving was kind of a weird one for us. So depending on what you did with it, we talked about doing your feasted day with enhanced protein or enhanced carbohydrate. The problem with putting Thanksgiving in there is that if you just had Thanksgiving Day and you had increased carbs and increased protein on that day, it's really hard to discern, okay, how did increased protein make me feel versus increased carbohydrates? So that's kind of one that we won't know this week, but this week you can choose to have an increased protein day, so that's like 150 grams of protein, or you can have an increased carb day, which would be 150 to even 200 carbs if you choose to do that. That's fine. So this is going to upregulate mTOR, which is our muscle building. This also is going to replace your glycogen replacement. So both are very important.
Question on the feast day.
Yeah, absolutely.
Am I correct that if we increase our carbs on feast days, that we should not have as much fat on the feast days?
Technically you probably, like, logistically you probably won't have as much fat. It will probably naturally go down. Like you don't need to do your 222 on your feast day. Like you don't need to like put that in.
If I were to eat a big sweet potato, which I normally wouldn't eat a big sweet potato, I would want plenty of butter or coconut oil or something on that. Was that a bad thing to do? Or
nope, you can still have like butter on your sweet potato and things like that, but you probably will be more full from that. So you're not going to find that you're probably going to eat, chicken thighs, and you're going to have your MCT oil, and you're going to do, you know what I mean? Like there's usually a stopping point where we kind of are like, oh, no more.
Yeah.
Right. And but yeah, you don't have to necessarily follow the 222, but you don't have to necessarily restrict it either.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. So, okay. So this is always a really good question because people get really excited about this, or very nervous. We'll just call it terrified. But I liked the word excited because that sounded more fun, right? So next week we fast, and this can be different for every single person. There are many people of you that will water fast, but we have fasting mimicking. And in your course content, I have a do-it-yourself fasting mimicking diet, as well as there is what's called a Prolon kit. So if anybody was interested in a Prolon kit, I can help you get that. It's literally in a little box and makes it very easy. It has these little soups and gives you electrolyte mixes and things like that. I've created a DIY for you, so you can do it if you have the time and the energy and you want to do that. I do find that most people, so if you've never fasted before, fasting mimicking is a great introduction. But I do find that most people that have done this program and they get into the fasting mimicking, they find that it's like too much food. They're like, oh my gosh, I could have had way less than that. I could have not done that amount. So that's usually a confidence builder and helps you as you start to go into deeper fasts. So then we can do bone broth fasting, which is considered a partial fast because we are putting there is some small amounts of protein in the bone broth. But I do like bone broth fasting. It's really good for gut healing. So people have gut problems. I think this is really great, especially even on like fasting days. let's say we have a really heavy workload or something like that, and we're just looking for something to kind of take us through, using something like a partial or getting like olive juice or, little extra things in there that kind of put us in this, a couple olives, something like that, that kind of stabilizes the system, is not a bad way to go. So I really do like that option. I tend to partial fast right in the beginning of my fast. It really helps me prep my body, but that's just a very individualistic style where when I get to day 3, game on, I have no problem. Sometimes for me, that per first 24, 48 hours is a little bit more difficult. So I tend to bone broth during that time, which just helps me kind of slide in a little bit easier. And then and partial fasting is really, so bone broth is a type of partial fasting, but let's just say partial fasting, let's just say all you had was water and then you had some olives and some avocado. That's technically considered a partial fast if you're, doing anything else but water. Um, you obviously you have lower than 15 grams of protein. You've got very low inventory coming in. That's considered a partial fast. You could do it with partial fasts are also considered like juice fasts. I don't tend to do a lot of juice fasting because of the glycemic index. I'm really trying to get people into ketosis, where in a juice fast, people will tend to get into ketosis probably after 4 or 5 days, but it takes a long time. So if you're constantly sipping on something that has a little bit of sugar, granted, you're going to dwindle down the barrel, but you're going to get those spikes. So it's going to keep you at a very limited ketone level if you're doing something like a juice fast. So, like vegetable broth is another way that you could do that. That's everything that's considered in a partial fast. The other way we could do an intermittent fast is you could do something like a dinner to dinner so for 5 days in a row, you could do a dinner to dinner fast. That would be considered an intermittent style, which would be great for any type of first timers who's just trying to extend their intermittent fasting window. So let's just say you've been at 14 hours and you're like, Maria, I cannot get over 14 hours. So why don't we try as a challenge to get you to 18 hours each day this week? And so just really extending out that intermittent window, build that confidence, build that autophagy. It's going to get past that growth hormone, which goes up to that 16-hour mark and deeper into that cellular breakdown, that utilizing that fat storage. And that is the goal for the entire week. That's a great goal. So none is better than the other. We're just are where we are. Then we have strict water. There are dry fasts. I don't typically advise people to do dry fasts unless they really talk to me about doing a dry fast and us coming up with a game plan. So there are many people that do dry fasts. I just don't tend to recommend it. So we are going to choose the best option according to like your ketones and glucose levels. And this is where we decide if we're going to break or not. Just want to see if okay. So when we're doing our fast, I do love for you to use like your Keto Mojo or your continuous glucose monitor. And the reason I like to look at ketones is that if you're struggling at any point, I do like for you to look at your glucose and I like to look at your ketones. And let's just say your heart rate feels like it's going up, you're feeling kind of faint. If you are hypoglycemic, let's say the blood sugar is down into the 40s and ketones are starting to drop, like they've gone from a 2 to a 1, I will tell them to break, but with something small. So you can break to a partial. So something like you could have a handful of blueberries, or you could have a little teaspoon of honey. So it slightly raises the blood sugar. Usually the heart rate will regulate at that point. If you feel really good, you could just go into some type of bone broth and stay the extra couple days. Sometimes we can have a moment in time where we just need a little pick me up and then it starts to resolve. But I don't want you to throw the baby out with the bathwater. And just because you have a small break does not mean you wasted the whole fast. Because remember when we talked about fasting mimicking diet and Valter Longo's whole research on under 15 grams of protein, the body still believes it's fasted. You're still going to get those fasted benefits. You just needed a little bit in that system to tide you over, and then you may not need anything the rest of the time. You could potentially go back to water fasting, but sometimes the energetic needs from the body start to increase and it's not regulating very well. It has a little bit of a stress response. So paying attention and get your readings during those times. You can always reach out to me on Facebook. You could always, like, or even email me, like, was this the right thing to do? Just don't all of a sudden go gorge yourself, or, like, as I like to say, do the Steel Magnolias moment where you drink a whole, like, quart of orange juice. A little bit goes a long way to help regulate the system. So even if you go from a water and you have to go back to a partial, you have gained massive benefits. It's not over. So please remember that you can go from a partial into a water, and you can go from a water into a partial. It's fine, either direction. Okay, so always take some time to reflect and look at all the changes you've made during this last 5 weeks, and we've all made small incremental changes. There's probably a lot of big changes, and it really takes reflection to kind of see how far you've come. Diet changes are never easy, but step by step, we will get into a really good place, and it's going to be easy for you to start vacillating between the two, and it doesn't matter if there's holiday parties or not. We have the power of this group, and we will have daily support for you on Facebook. And I will talk about the changes that occur with your neurotransmitters and things. These are what happens with serotonin and dopamine and norepinephrine. All these wonderful things occur during this process that will help with appetite suppressant and how it makes you feel good and gives you mood alterations. And yeah, so you're going to learn about all those wonderful things. And then there's just so many benefits here. They just outweigh any other option. All right, so let's look at the 411 and what our week can look like. So you can plan out your week, and it can be whatever. And if there are events or whatever that are occurring, just adjust accordingly. But you can see how the fast days here, we have it Saturday and we have it Wednesday. We have, oh, sorry, I meant to say Monday, Wednesday are your famine days, and then Saturday is a feast day here. We have intermittent fasting days the rest of the week. Your schedule could look very different, where let's say your fast is Sunday and Thursday, and you could have a feast day on Friday and all the rest. It's really just up to you. Just really mark it out for yourself so it works the best. This is just a sample week of what it could potentially look like on, like, if let's just say you were doing a famine day and we were just having one meal during that day. And again, I'm gonna post that ketobiotic meal so you guys can see what that could look like. Okay. Stop sharing there. Okay, so questions about this week or about potential on fasting? No? You feel really ready?
Remind me about any kind of exercising during the 5-day water fast.
Oh, good idea. Good question. Okay. So I don't typically have you do robust exercise on the 5-day fast. And this is because the 5-day fast is already going to be a stress on the system, where I'm okay with light walks, things like that. Yin yoga, that really is the extent of it. Because you're already going to be in caloric deprivation, we don't want to put the body in a state where it's going to be depleting more calories during that time, because you're more likely to have a hypoglycemic episode and then need to have to break your fast. Where I will say the last day of your fast would be a time if you wanted to exert some effort. You are going to get a massive boost in autophagy that day, and it really could, you could actually have some extra energy. The other thing to that is because your body's not wasting energy breaking down food, we start to have this reserve of our energy and we can actually feel a little bit more engaged. So if you wanted to exert yourself a little bit more on your last day, that would absolutely be fine. If you're doing a partial, I don't want I still want you to stay in that lighter realm. You could lightly go on a spin bike or something like that, but again, I don't want you to overexert. The idea is to really gain confidence within a partial fast so that you feel like I don't want to break down the reserve so much that you feel like you then have to just oh my gosh, throw something in your mouth that you really didn't plan on. I just want this to be more of a regenerative period of time. But when you break your fast, you're going to get this massive autophagy and you're going to have massive energy and you're going to have a really, really good um, outcome, like production of what effort you're putting in. So I always tell people that during race season, I would actually fast the usually 3 days before the day before my race because I knew I was going to have that reserved energy and then I would have that cell autophagy. So then I would refeed and then I'd have race day the next day. And it was like I had turbo boosters to get me to go because I had all that reserved energy from not eating. And I know that sounds counterintuitive. People think about people at the pasta bars and all that stuff. I actually had a little secret weapon for myself, and it really did. I had a lot of great outcomes with that. So you will get a really big boost come the day once you refeed in the next day. So you could always plan a fun big effort with that. So yeah, just something to keep you mobile, agile, work on, you can, do stretching and flexibilities type stuff. You could do little bit of lightweight if you wanted, but really just get your body moving, be out in nature. Those are things that are really nice and kind on yourself.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Whitney, any questions?
Yeah, you see me come off mute. I still can't get a CGM. So I wanted to ask the team like who got theirs where.
Oh,
So
and
we could try again because Tape was, yeah,
didn't you tell me that you got the little like the machine but not the sensor?
yeah.
Okay.
I think either they messed up the prescription or I don't know if you've sent some. They gave me like a little monitor, but they didn't have any. But I heard one of the pharmacists say this, and of course the one doesn't repeat it to me. But I heard her say the sensors are on back order. So I'm wondering if
Oh,
that would have been a part of it. Yeah, and they just couldn't give it to me.
maybe that's why they gave you that. Because I know I sent it in under sensor.
Yeah,
Because it's like
that's
preloaded
weird
in
though.
my system. Okay, let's try.
My
I'll
pharmacy
probably
said,
take that thing back because I don't need another device. They
Yeah.
know they can keep that.
What did you say?
my pharmacy, I asked them and they said that they're on back order also.
Uh,
And Christina was not able to get the Freestyle Libre 3, but she was able to get the 2.
oh, okay. I could do that, Winnie. I could put it under the two.
What's the two? Is
It's
it
just a different
still
model.
Bluetooth?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it should be.
the two you have to actually scan and it'll show it doesn't automatically do it to your phone like the 3 does. But it's still
Oh,
you scan it and then it shows the everything since the last time you scanned it.
oh, that's good attempt. Okay, I can be cool with that. That's something. I love having them for the fasts.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That'd be really cool.
So, okay, I can call in the two, but yeah, I definitely see. So they definitely have a delay here. They don't say it's going to end.
Oh, even for the
Ooh,
two?
they have something called a Freestyle Libre Plus.
What's that?
Ooh.
And Christina tried that. I mean, who knows, it may change by now, but she tried that one also, and that one didn't come in. The difference with the plus is it gives like an extra day.
Oh,
The
okay.
regular ones are 14 days, the plus maybe a day longer, but she couldn't get that one either. But who knows? That was a couple weeks ago, so maybe it changed.
You,
No, I think it's gotten
Whitney,
worse. I could be wrong. Go ahead.
yeah, Whitney, if you want, you could call them and ask them if they have the 2 or the plus. And if they,
Okay.
and then just text me and tell me which one, and then I'll just send that one. So if they have a 2,
Okay,
I'll send the
deal.
2. If they have the plus, I'll send the plus.
Okay, I might call around too. If Safeway doesn't have it, I'll try Walgreens. I'll try. Somebody
Yeah,
had
or
lucky at
CVS.
Walmart, I
That would be
think.
good. Yeah, Walmart, all of them. Yeah, anyone that you want.
Okay.
And
And
then
then
just tell me which one and which, like, if it's the 3 plus or the 2, and then which pharmacy.
And
Okay,
if you'll
cool.
post that, Whitney, if you'll post it on the Facebook so that the rest of us know
Yeah.
when we
Oh
need to
yeah,
find it,
deal.
that'd be helpful.
Inquiring minds want to know.
Ugh,
Thank you.
right? If anyone else needs one for next week,
Thank
and I
you.
really want it, like I'm gonna be a brat this week trying to find one.
Oh, don't worry. I mean, like in COVID, like I had people calling around every single type of medicine or device thing. It was a nightmare. So like
Lisa got good at that. She found me some stuff at some random Walgreens. It was amazing.
oh, yeah. So if you tell me which one, and then I'll let the group know
Okay.
too, or Whitney, you can tell the group,
Okay.
either the 3 plus or the 2, that would be really helpful. And then I can send them in for anybody who needs them. And then I'll share with you guys the Ketobiotic, and then I'll send some more stuff on partial fasting, versus regular, and everybody. And if anybody has questions about what they personally should be doing, how you've been feeling, and we can kind of come up and derive a plan together if you're unsure if you should be water fasting or if you should be doing partial or bone broth or whatnot, then I can help you decide on that. Sound good?
Cool.
All
I
right.
will miss the call next week. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. I will record and post as always. And then, yeah, we can share throughout the week. And I'm actually going to probably start my fast early because I'm going to Vegas for the Integrative Disneyland Conference of the year. So I'll come back with all kinds of cool, fun stuff for you guys. I'm so excited.
Yay!
It's really a fun event. Lot of really, really great speakers. So I hope to soak in all the really wonderful information and bring back fun stuff. And I will try not to buy too many new things, Whitney. And no, I'll come back. I'll have I don't have any room left in my place.
As long as they're cool.
No, there's all kinds of fun stuff. But yeah, it's a great event.
I'm
But I'm gonna
jealous.
try to fast before I go so I'm prepared. But I will be here with you guys for sure. Absolutely. So
We are
uh,
thankful that you are feeling healthy enough to get to hike and go to Las Vegas.
me too. I know.
Mhm.
I've hiked 4 days in a row. Granted, it wasn't crazy far, but it was 4 days
Oh, I
in a
love
row.
it.
So yeah,
Good
and
for
no
you.
episodes. So that's a
Thank you,
beautiful
Lord.
sign
Woo!
to me. So I
Yes.
will take it. I will take it. Beautiful. Okay. We will fast Monday, but we still have our 4-2-1 ahead of us. So everybody plan accordingly. And then I will see you guys next Monday. Any fasting questions, I will take them, and I'm going to post this week for you guys. And I did a post about the oils. So I just put that up for you guys about the smoke
Okay.
points.
Thank you.
Beautiful. All right. Have a good night, guys. Take care.
Thanks.
Thank
Bye.
you.